Howdy guys, Alex with San Antonio Vapor Blasting coming to you with a really cool video this week. Today we're going to be cutting up both the front half of my Yamaha Blaster and the front half of my 1984 Honda ATC 200X, which is a three-wheeler. We're going to be welding the two together to make a three-wheeler. This one's going to be a little difficult of a video, a little bit slow, but one of the main issues I'm going to be having, or challenges I'm going to be overcoming, is figuring out the axis of this three-wheeler steering stem. And what I mean by that is this guy is obviously going to be, in the Blaster, is squared off with both sides of the frame, up and down, left and right. This guy at the moment is, but as soon as I cut him off somewhere, don't know exactly where, and start welding it together, I could either potentially roll left, roll right, roll up, roll down. So you can already see that there's a difference in the steering angle between a four-wheeler, right, a ATV if you will, and then a three-wheeler. This one has a much steeper angle, so that's going to be a change that we're going to be making, applying this angle to this motorcycle, but also keeping it square in plane left to right. So the only solution, and the best solution that I could come up with, was cutting a little bit more than obviously I'm going to need. I'm not going to need this much of the upper part of the frame, but also maintaining the bottom half of this cradle in the Honda ATC 200X. That way I can maintain most of, within reason, most of the steering angle and the left to right, keeping that within bounds for acceptable. So with that, let's get to work. So I've already removed the steering from the Yamaha Blaster, and I can already see that I'm not going to need this, I don't know what you would call it, the mount for where the steering block from the top of the steering column mounts. So that's going to be the first thing to go. As far as what I'm going to cut out next, to be frank, I don't know. I'll probably start here. I know this is where the front shock mounts, these two eyelets right here. I'm going to cut in front of there, and we'll keep going from there. this. Ooh, baby. Makes me nervous, but at the same time, it's progress. Fairly sure I'm gonna have to be cutting somewhere up here. Fairly sure I'm gonna cut this somewhere down here. Maybe even relocate it somewhere down there, depending on where the bottom cradle of the 200X lands. To be frank, we'll get there when we get there, but makes me nervous. I'm not sweating because I'm nervous. I'm sweating because it's also like 100 degrees here in Texas. The feels like temperature is like 105, 107, something crazy. And I'm in my unair conditioned garage right now, so and I'm nervous. So with all that being said, let's keep cutting, because this is honestly really cool. That's progress for me. And keep figuring out where these two bikes are gonna land. So I know I've said before that these are both viable frames, and what I mean by that is they both can make a motorcycle. Riders, not show quality stuff, but viable motorcycles. Well, one of the first things I noticed when I bought this guy is that the frame, you can see right here on both sides, the black, and then the rust, and then once you start looking closer through all the dirt, you can see the welds. So this frame actually broke at one point right here at the front, where the front meets the cradle. So that's an interesting thing. It was welded together pretty decently. I'm not gonna knock whoever did the repair. It's legit. You know, they obviously build riders too, so I'm not worried about that. But it's interesting to see because nobody mentioned that to me when I bought it, of course. But that's the name of the game when you're buying new stuff. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna give it a good whack right here. I already have I don't know what that is, a rust hole, something. Clearly this person's ridden this thing over rocks, gotten it stuck. It's all bent and kinked and all that. So again, not too worried about it. But I do know that if it lays flat on this cradle, relatively speaking, my angle will be good enough for a absolutely solid rider. So I'm not too worried about it. Gonna give it a cut here, give it a cut up here, set it back down. We should still be holding the same angles, which will get me at a minimum close enough to make a good riding solid three-wheeler, but make it custom. All right guys, so let's get to work. I don't know if you saw that, but this thing jumped. It each released about at least a solid 1/4 of an inch. So that tells me that whoever welded it in the first place probably had it strapped together at some point, putting some portion of the frame under a considerable amount of tension, because there's no way that it just bucks and unbuckles like that without being put under a good amount of tension. So, a little interesting nugget for you guys. I don't know if you can see that. There's a it's honestly a very uniform gap between that frame, so definitely pulled tight with some sort of strap when somebody welded it back together. Again, not the biggest of deals. We're going to cut it up here. It still should sit relatively flat. Obviously it'll be kind of heavy on its front end, but left to right should be within bounds. There it is. Front half three-wheeler, which again sits relatively flat. Back over here. Gonna French it up to the front of this guy. So guys, if you stuck around this long, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for part 2 where we start to figure the rest of it out, start to weld it together, start to cut a little bit more. Obviously, not all of this on the blaster is going to stay, but at a certain point, like Mike Tyson says, you got to kiss. So we're going to keep figuring it out, and that's what we do best here. And with that, thanks for supporting the channel. This is Alex with San Antonio Vapor Blasting. Peace out.